Our greatness today rests in part on this good piece of geography that is the United States. But what is important is what the people of America do with it.
This document, produced prior to the death of President Kennedy, spans a continent on the days between September 24th and 28th, 1963. Its message is eloquently expressed in the concern of a nation's leader for the resources, be they of the earth and water or of the human spirit, that are the indestructible fabric of these United States.
Journey of 5 days across the United States, beginning in Pennsylvania and ending in California, to talk about the conservation of our resources. I was reminded when I read my itinerary of a poem by Stephen Vincent Benet called American Names. And he started it off, I've fallen in love with American names, the sharp, gaunt names that never get fat. The snakeskin title of mining claims, the plume war bonnet of Medicine Hat, Tucson and Deadwood and Lost Mule Flat.
Las Vegas, Nevada, where President Kennedy speaks at the Convention Center. Here are some of the remarks he made at Las Vegas and at other places on his tour.
I came on this trip to see the United States, and I can assure you that there is nothing more encouraging for any of us who work in Washington than to have a chance to fly across this United States and drive through it and see what a great country it is and come to understand somewhat better how this country has been able for so many years to carry so many burdens in so many parts of the world. The primary reason for my trip was conservation. And I include in conservation first our human resources and then our natural resources. Do you know how much of the Atlantic coast is available for public use and purposes? About 8%. 92% of the whole Atlantic coast, and the figures are the same for the Pacific, are held, in the most part, by comparatively few people. And unless we now, before it's too late, take these areas of the country which offer the maximum for recreation for all of our people, unless we set them aside now, it will be too late. There isn't very much that you can do today that will materially alter your life in the next 3 or 4 years in the field of conservation. But you can build for the future. You can build for the 70s, as those who went ahead of us built for us in this great dam and lake that I flew over today. Our task, the task of propelling a third wave of conservation in the United States, following that of Theodore Roosevelt and of Franklin Roosevelt, is to make science the servant of conservation and to devise new programs of land stewardship that will enable us to preserve this green environment, which means so much to all of us. This country has placed particular emphasis from its beginning, from the time of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, on educating our children. Not merely to help them, but most importantly because we realized that the free democratic system of government, which places more burdens on the individual than any other system, must depend in its final analysis upon an informed citizen. Of all the wastes in the United States in the 1960s, none is worse than to have 8 or 9 million boys and girls who will drop out, statistics tell us, drop out of school before they have finished it, come into the labor market unprepared at the very time when machines are taking the place of men and women. I think we have to insist that our children be educated to the limit of their talents, not just in your state or in Massachusetts, but all over the United States. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, who developed the Northwest Ordinance, which put so much emphasis on education. Thomas Jefferson once said that any nation which expected to be ignorant and free hopes for what never was and never will be. So I hope we can conserve this resource. This country has become rich because nature was good to us, and because the people who came from Europe predominantly also were among the most vigorous. The basic resources were used skillfully and economically, and because of the wise work done by Theodore Roosevelt and others, significant progress was made in conserving these resources. And unless we make the proper decisions today on how we shall use our water and our air and our land and our ocean, unless we make the comparable effort, an effort comparable to what Theodore Roosevelt and others made 50 years ago, we're going to waste it. Today's conservation movements must therefore embrace disciplines unknown in the past. It must marshal our vast technological resources in behalf of our resource supply. It must concern itself with nuclear energy as well as silviculture, with the physics and chemistry of water as well as TVA, with the economic and engineering factors of open space, as well as the preservation of old scenic treasures. Our primary task is to increase our understanding of our environment to a point where we can enjoy it without defacing it, use its bounty without detracting permanently from its value, and above all maintain a living balance between man's actions and nature's reactions. For this nation's great resources is as elastic and productive as our ingenuity can make it. Our national assets belong to all of us. Children who are born in the East will grow up in the West, and the West will grow up in the East, and we will find by concentrating our energies on our national resources, on conserving them, but not merely conserving and saving them, but by developing and improving them, the United States will be richer and stronger. We can fulfill our responsibilities to ourselves and those who depend upon us.